I meet a lot of Indian men who really want to find a partner on their own rather than getting an arranged marriage. And they know that this will require them to become a more attractive man. They're often very clear on what kind of habits, lifestyle changes, social practices they have to implement to get there. But then when it comes to doing it, most of them just don't do it consistently. And so they don't get those results. And down the line, 3 years, they will get an arranged marriage. And they know exactly why it is. They know it's because they didn't do the things that they should have done. In this video, I want to explain to you how you can avoid that and develop the consistency that's needed to get lasting social success. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Achil Rudolph. I'm a social confidence coach, and I coach primarily South Asian men on how to develop the communication skills that are necessary to attract the right partner in the real world without dating apps. Now, there are lots of cheat codes that you can use to become or appear more confident. You know, you can speak louder, have that deeper pitch, stand straight, but ultimately, your confidence is coming from somewhere deeper. It's coming from the knowledge that you can do difficult things successfully. And that requires you to actually do difficult, challenging things over and over and again until you succeed. And so with real-world social skills, that means just going out regularly and actually talking to strangers, having conversations in real life. If you do that, let's say 10 to 15 to 20 times every single week, and you start a conversation with a stranger 10 times every week, I can guarantee that you're going to get good at it. It's going to take some time. You can accelerate it with the right knowledge, but just doing it consistently will guarantee that you will get good at it. And it'll be hard every single time, especially in the beginning. But if you manage to overcome and just push through that resistance and do it anyways, it's just a matter of time until you get good at it. So if you can just make that decision right now and say, yeah, I'm going to talk to 10 people every week from now on, that problem will be sorted. And probably it's easy for you right now to say that and to say, yeah, I can actually do that. That's realistic. It's not that difficult. It doesn't seem difficult. And if you were to actually commit right now and do that, then you wouldn't have to watch the rest of this video. But of course, most people, me included, find it very hard to just do what they said they should do. We find all kinds of reasons in the heat of the moment to not do it. We make up stories. We make up excuses. And that's ultimately what leads to most disasters in personal life. And over the years of practicing personal development obsessively myself, and having experienced quite a few of those disasters, I have identified the 5 principles that help me overcome this inertia and stay consistent when it comes to implementing new habits, especially in the social sphere. I highly recommend you watch this video till the end, because I found that only with an understanding of all those 5 principles was I able to stay consistent and get to the kind of confidence, the kind of life and the kind of relationships that I wanted for myself. So let's dig into it. The 5 strategies to stay consistent for social success are: first, clarify the motivation. You've heard this before, but what does motivation really mean? It's knowing why you want the outcome. And you might say, yeah, I know why I want to have a good life, but see if you can go deeper. Ask yourself, what exactly do you like about being more attractive, being fit, being confident, having a partner of your own choice, having maybe a cross-cultural family or a big family, whatever that is. See if you can actually visualize that and ask yourself, why do you want that? What exactly about that is it that makes you want it? That's going to help you to clarify the vision as well, and maybe you will realize that you don't even want certain things that you thought you wanted, just by taking the time to actually look closely. One other way to clarify your motivation is to ask yourself why you don't want the opposite, why you don't want to stay where you are right now. What's the opposite of being attractive and confident and having the ability to find a partner on your own? Well, getting the arranged marriage, right? So have you sat down and actually written down all the reasons why you don't want an arranged marriage? Have you visualized that? I take it to the next level and actually visualize my future with real photos. You've heard that before, and it's a very helpful practice. But have you actually gotten a vision board? Do you have your future visualized so that you can look at it every morning? And funnily enough, it's hanging right down here in the corner on the same whiteboard. So I see it every day, even unconsciously, it's just there. Every morning I have a ritual that I explained in a different video where I look at this vision board and remind myself of why I'm doing the things that I say I should do consistently, because it's going to get me to that future. It also helps, of course, to surround yourself with people who are on a similar path. That boosts your motivation if you can see other people who are just a few steps ahead of you and they're real. You can actually build a relationship with them. They're not just some models or people on Instagram or people that you found on a stock photo site for your vision board. They're people that know your name. And you know that they are where you want to be. So that'll make you believe that it's actually possible, and it will make you believe also that much more is possible than what you currently think is possible. That's something that happens to me a lot. Like, in this day and age, it's not even easy to believe that it's possible to have a really stable, beautiful, long-term relationship and a family. And I have a mentor who just shows me over and over again that this is possible. I go visit him sometimes, and I actually visit him and see his family in the countryside. My business mentor shows me what's possible in business. I didn't know that you could actually just have an online business and teach hundreds and thousands of people and get a lot of impact and a lot of success. And also, he taught me that it's possible to make YouTube videos like this, where you don't edit everything and spend days writing the script. You just make up your mind about a topic that you want to talk about, and then you go through it and you think publicly. And then there's no editing. I didn't know that that was possible. I didn't know that one can develop the kind of speaking skills to make a YouTube video like that. And when you see those people, and you know they're real, and you know how they do it, you're going to get a bit jealous. You're going to think, wow, that person is not even that much smarter than me. How are they able to achieve those kinds of results? I should do the same. So that's what I can say about motivation. The second extremely important system and mindset method that you can implement to get consistent in your social practices, and all practices in fact, is awareness. Another one of those fluffy terms that you've heard before, but let's dive real deep into this one because it's very central. Awareness means, first of all, making it very clear where you are and where you want to be. Let's say this is where you are, and this is where you want to be. Even just having that awareness for the difference and the clarity of where you are right now, where you want to be, something that most people don't have. When you do this exercise here with the motivation and actually write down why you want exactly what you want, then this is going to become very clear. You're going to visualize exactly what you want. But then it's another step yet to make clear where you are right now and look at your life very honestly. Journaling helps, just actually speaking about where you are right now. But then even still, it's a bit painful to really admit that. Most people don't do that. Most people don't have a lot of clarity on where they are right now. It's like kind of this. And also, they will not have a lot of clarity on where they want to be. Like this. And so, if there's not a lot of clarity on where you are and where you want to be, then you can take a lot of different actions and you can easily justify that that was the right action, even though it didn't really move you towards the right. Well, there is a bit of green over here as well. You want to be there too. You want to be there too. When you get that awareness for exactly where you are and where you want to be, then the next thing that's going to happen is that you're going to get a very clear awareness as well for what you need to do. It'll be crystal clear that there's one direction that you want to move your life in. And having transparency on that is not so easy, because if you have the clarity on what you want to do, then it's not so easy anymore to justify doing something else. So all these things here, if you do them, they'll start to feel wrong. It'll become painful to do the wrong thing. So very few people, even those who actually have clarity on where they are and where they want to be, will get clarity on looking at what they're doing right now. And that's the next step. You want to actually look at what you're doing. What are your actions in comparison to what you know you need to be doing? What this here means, that arrow over here is your habits, or let's say the ideal habits. The habits that you know that will get you over time to get to this desired state. But then what you're actually doing will look a bit different. These are your actual actions. And that's something you can compare very nicely with the habit tracker. You actually track your actions and see whether you're doing what you know you should be doing. And then it'll become very clear that if you're not moving in the right direction, it's because you're not doing that thing. You're doing other things. And so you realize that it's just your own fault. It's your responsibility. There's no other reason than you chickening out when it comes to doing the right thing. And that's painful to admit, because it basically means I'm a loser and that's why I suck. That's a very painful thing to admit, and the ego will resist that. The ego will say, no, there's some other reasons. So it'll tell you all kinds of other stories. It'll tell you more ego-preserving stories on why you didn't do the thing that you should have done. And awareness in this context means being aware of those voices as well, of those stories that you tell yourself about why you're not doing that thing but this thing. Let me give you an example. Ever since I started my own entrepreneurial journey, my head is constantly racing. I have ideas all the time. I used to have them already back then, but when I started really directing my life and becoming clear on where I want to be, I have ideas just almost non-stop. And I know that for me it's extremely important to meditate every single day twice. And once in the morning I do a long meditation, half an hour. But even then my head is still racing. And when I sit down to meditate, I actually slow my brain down a little, I relax, and I love it. But what happens then is that I get the best ideas in that moment. Because finally my brain is not running all over the place in this sprint marathon, but rather it's relaxed, and so new, better ideas bubble up. And I'm conflicted in that moment because I'm meditating and I want to relax. But there's a voice inside of me saying, dude, this is the best idea you've had in 2 weeks. You can't just relax now and forget all your thoughts and become present with the universe. You need to write this down. This is worth millions. This will change your life. So I'm sitting there and it's messing up my meditation completely. And oftentimes I actually get up and write down that idea and interrupt my meditation, defeating the whole purpose of my meditation, which was to relax and calm down. So once I got aware of that, I started wondering, is that actually true, that voice that's telling me to stop my meditation and write down this idea? And after doing a few weeks of interrupted meditations, I looked at the ideas and I said, well, they didn't really change my life. Those ideas were not the ones that ended up making a huge difference in my life. I think that voice is actually lying to me. It's actually manipulating me, and it's the voice that doesn't want to do the meditation. It's resistant to doing the meditation that I know I should be doing, and it's giving me a really attractive argument to interrupt the meditation. But ultimately it's a lie. It's like in a dream where you think that you're solving some mathematical equation. When I was in my PhD program, I used to have those dreams because I didn't want to actually do the work and I just wanted to continue sleeping in the morning. I would dream solving the Bellman equation. That's an equation from economics. And I really thought in that dream that I was making progress on a problem set or on a difficult paper. But just like that, it was just an illusion. And so I knew I had to fix this. And the way I fixed it is that with meditation, I said I'm going to do the meditation very first thing in the morning when my mind is still not at least full of ideas. It's already starting to have ideas, but when I do it in that automatic zombie mode that I'm in at 4:50 in the morning, I'm more likely to actually just sit and relax. And that was my solution. That was only possible because of the awareness that I brought to what is the voice? What is the force that's pushing me away from what I need to be doing to something else? Another example, when I do my workouts in the morning, I also realized that I have to do it in the morning. But even then, after having a little protein shake and going to the gym and listening to the music, I'm distracted and I have all those thoughts with me about business already. And then also my phone used to be right there with me, or in the locker at least. And so while I'm doing the workout, I would say something like, oh, it's not that important to do the workout. I have some real important business issue. I should just run back to the locker room and write something, send a message, check my phone. But again, those voices are clearly deceiving. I know when I sit down and become aware that it's more important for me to take care of my health, because if I don't have health, then there is no business. So another voice that came in my head is that it's not so important to work out. I should just be spending this time on making a good video, helping some clients. And again, that voice is deceiving, because when you think about it, I can only help my clients if I am actually helping myself first. I'm also a role model for my clients and for you guys out there as well. So if I'm not being disciplined and doing my workouts properly in the morning, how can I tell you guys to be disciplined? It's part of my job. it's part of my work to be at the gym and be focused in the morning and actually do a hard workout. So when I became aware of it, I solved it. And so when the voice comes up now that tells me, oh, it's not that important, this workout won't make a big difference anyways, I counter it and I have the right argument. I say, no, this, what I'm doing here, is actually for my work. So this is the most important thing. I also had to start leaving my phone at the office, because if I took it to the locker room, I knew that this voice would just knock at me and pull me all the time, and it was getting annoying to counter that voice. So I said, I'm just going to leave my phone at the end of the day in the office. That way, I don't have it in the evening when I go home. In the morning when I go to the gym, I don't have it. There's not even an option of writing something down in the gym and interrupting my workout. So those kinds of solutions come to you when you get a lot of awareness about what is pulling you away from what you know you need to be doing. You want to write all these voices down and all those arguments that the voices are using to pull you away. And once you write them down, you will automatically develop the right responses. And you will recognize that that voice is deceiving you, and that not all of the voices that are in your head need to be or should be trusted. When there is this conflict between what you are doing over here and what you know you should be doing, then the awareness will necessarily follow after some time, because you will just notice after some time that you're just not moving in the right direction, and that'll cause a certain dissonance, and you will recognize that it's because you're not doing what you should be doing. And it's a matter of time until you will just realize that you need to change what you're doing. The only way that this will not happen is if you suppress that cognitive dissonance, and if you suppress that pain that comes from not moving in the right direction, that comes from realizing that you're just not doing the right thing. And unfortunately, that's what most people do. They don't look at this closely. They don't watch this video until this point where they actually understand. Because they're on to the next dopamine hit. They're looking for cheap pleasure to suppress the fact that they know that they're not doing what they should be doing. So stay with me here. See if you can push through right now and actually pay full attention to this video. If you have some other tabs open, this is the moment to actually say, hey, let me close those other tabs. Let me go all into this process and actually look at where I'm not doing what I need to be doing. And then it's about just embracing that, because you're never going to be doing exactly what you need to be doing. That's life. Life is that struggle between what you're doing right now and what you should be doing. And that'll never go away. Even if you're doing almost exactly what you should be doing, there will still be a difference. And when you have the awareness, you will recognize that little difference. And then life is just about correcting that and finding the right response to the voice that's pulling you away from the thing that you know you should be doing. So embrace that and actually be grateful for that pain that you're feeling if you're not doing the right thing. Because that's ultimately what's going to motivate you to do the right thing. So that pain is not something to run away from. That pain of staying here and actually watching this video, even though it's complicated, even though it's attacking your ego, even though it's a bit embarrassing to admit to yourself when you look at your habit tracker that you haven't done what you're doing, what you should be doing, or you look at your habit tracker and there is no habit tracker. Yeah, that's the pain that you want to feel. Bring that up. And if you see it that way, you can actually see life as this eternal struggle and eternal pain in a way, but it doesn't have to bog you down. Once you accept that that's the nature of life, it just becomes your everyday reality. It becomes the status quo. And you can fight that battle with a smile. There's a beautiful metaphor that Kamal Ravikant, his brother, uses in his book, How to Love Yourself, love yourself like your life depends on it. And he calls those imaginary snakes. Those are snakes that are lurking and pulling you away from what you need to be doing. And those snakes are always going to be there. And the key is just to recognize them and to step through them. And in fact, I use a daily ritual to remind myself of this very fact. It's the Shiva Tandava. It's a dance. I will link a tutorial for that dance. And I do it every single morning to remind myself that life is about bringing up the fight, bringing up the struggle, bringing up that warrior who knows he's got to just fight and keep fighting. And doing that with a smile, with an uplifting energy. And in that dance, you actually visualize the resistance. You visualize the snakes. You literally visualize the snakes, or another symbol of the forces, the voices that are pulling you away from what you need to be doing. And you visualize the goal, you visualize the life, you visualize the energy. And then you enact the battle between the two in that dance. It's a beautiful ritual. I highly recommend it if you have struggles with enjoying that struggle. Let's get to the third main system and strategy to become consistent, and that is recognizing when you need to sacrifice. Another word you've heard before. Obviously, when you're doing these two things already and you have a clear goal, you have the motivation, you're starting to do things that you need to be doing, oftentimes that's still not enough. And I did a lot of hard work on my habits for many, many years, but even then I didn't get to where I wanted to be. And I looked at it at some point and said, why am I not really progressing? And the answer was that I was doing too much. I was doing too many things. I was moving in too many different directions. My time and energy was just going into things that didn't really serve the main purpose. So I had to sit back and prioritize and think of what is really at the top of my hierarchy, and then sacrifice the things that I was doing for other smaller priorities. There are simple sacrifices that you can make. I think the simplest one and the most basic one in a way is just removing those really pointless distractions. For me, that was drugs. Alcohol and drugs. That was my way of having some fun on the weekend, and I didn't drink as a teenager, but at some point I started and it became a habit, and I knew exactly that it wasn't serving me. It was crystal clear to me. And so I just started by saying, hey, I'm not going to drink for 1 year. No alcohol for 1 year. I need to know if this is potentially what's holding me back from reaching my goals. So I'm going to do the test, 1 year. You know, those sacrifices don't have to be forever. But start saying no for 1 year to one thing that you know is not serving you, and you'll have more energy. You'll have more time. And a lot of things will change in 1 year. You say no to drugs and alcohol for 1 year, you will lose a few relationships. You lose a few friends. It's probably going to be a good thing. Continuing with the example of my morning routine, I always keep my phone at the office, as I told you. It's always locked into that drawer and switched off overnight so that I don't even have the option of using it in the evening and in the morning. But then when I reach my office at 9 a.m., I feel a bit hungry after the workout. And then there's this voice inside of me again, the snake telling me, oh, come on, you can have a little bit of food. You should have a bit of food. And then I say, yeah, actually, no, I wanted to do my first work session first, but then no, you can have food a little bit. So I usually eat a little bit, and then I say, well, now you're eating, you're not doing anything super productive anyways. You might as well open your phone, get it out of that drawer, and check if something happened while you're eating. In the back of my mind, I know that it's not the right thing to do, but usually I still do it. And then I open my phone and watch that YouTube video that I didn't finish last day, or just check my WhatsApp. And so after many days of trying to eat without the phone, I realized that this is a voice that I'm not going to be able to overcome. When I'm in the office and my phone is there because it has to be there, I don't have another place to hide it, I will open it up and I will just look at it, especially when I'm eating. So the only thing that I could do is to literally postpone and sacrifice my breakfast. Because if I'm not eating, then this thought doesn't pop up. If I'm not eating, I'm doing work, then I can stay disciplined and keep the phone in the drawer. So that's not ideal, because after a workout, I need that nutrition. My body screams, no, eat, man, you need. But I say no, I have to sacrifice the breakfast, because doing my deep work, 2-hour concentrated session, is more important. It's higher up on that priority list. And once you do that for a few times and you sacrifice something that you actually value, but you just say something else is more important, the pain of losing that thing goes away. So you get used to it. You get used to the pain of getting up early. You get used to the pain of not having food when your body wants it. And then it won't want it anymore. You can train the body to comply. And you can also get rid of the pain of approaching a stranger, for sure. That's a big pain, of course. But once you just say, no, I sacrifice that part of me that wants to stay safe and comfortable, that pain is gonna go. There are bigger sacrifices sometimes. I mean, in order to get to where I am, I had to sacrifice a lot of life goals. I had lots of more goals than just building a company. I wanted to be a filmmaker as well. At some point, I wanted to be a furniture designer. And I said, well, if I am doing all these things and I'm not achieving any of them, I need to figure out what is the most important one. And then sacrifice the other and drop the rest. And the good thing is, as I said, those sacrifices are not forever. So maybe at some point in my career, I'll go back and make films again and make art films, like documentary films. Maybe I'll actually use my old age to design beautiful chairs. But right now, I have to sacrifice that. Another difficult sacrifice for me was to stop dating, to stop chasing women. I mean, yeah, this was a big part of my 20s. I wanted to make sure I find the best compatible partner, but that's a never-ending rat race. You can always think there's someone better out there, and at some point you want to just sacrifice that and realize that if you keep doing that, you're going to mess up your life. You know, not going out and finding a new partner, it's fun, but at some point it became an excuse I used to not do the work that I needed to do in order to reach my goals in life. And of course, I want the most compatible partner, but I also want a deep connection. I want to have a long-term relationship. I want to have a family. I also want to have the kind of focus that I need in order to build a company. All those things are more important in the end at some point. And so going into a relationship is also a huge sacrifice. It's a sacrifice of all the future optionalities. Being an eternal playboy maybe sounds cool and fun, but I know that it would severely reduce my focus and my ability to actually create something meaningful for the world. So I had to sacrifice it. Something that's also hard for me to sacrifice is family time. I love my family. I have a beautiful family. I love them to pieces. If some of you are watching it, please know, I do love you. But at the same time, my family was not extremely helpful in my journey of becoming an entrepreneur. they didn't understand it. They don't understand it. So at some point I had to limit my family time and say, right now I need to sacrifice spending a lot of time with my family for my work. And of course I want to maintain a connection. I still go there and I still see my mom and dad and my sister once a week, sometimes twice. Now that there's a baby, twice maybe, but when there's nothing special, it's just once in 2 weeks and maybe one phone call a week. Okay, that's enough. And it's not something I'm gonna do forever like this. The sacrifice is again temporary, because once I get to the level where I feel like it's working extremely well, I'll be able to spend more time with them again. And it won't pull me down, it won't trigger me, it won't really bother me if they don't understand what I'm doing at that point. And it's good that they're still active and healthy, and so I can make that sacrifice right now. Later, when they really need me and I need to be there for them, I'm gonna have to strengthen my connection and strengthen my time investment there. So let's get to the fourth concept that you need to understand in order to achieve extreme consistency, and that is celebration. In order to celebrate reaching a goal or doing the right thing, you need to know exactly what that right thing is. So it presupposes that clarity and that awareness around what you're doing and what you should be doing. But if you're actually clear on where you are, let's make it red again, where you want to be and what you need to be doing to get there, then you want to define that very clearly and then measure again what you're actually doing. And if it's close enough, okay, if it's close enough, let's say if it's in this spectrum here, you have it clearly defined, you need to celebrate. You need to reward yourself. Because our habits and our human behavior is shaped by reward systems. And that's pretty hard to do, because if I'm just here on my own making this video, who's going to reward me? I mean, my girlfriend doesn't really care. She's not going to really reward me for making this video. My parents, as I said, don't really understand what I'm doing anyways. They're not going to reward me. You have to reward yourself. You have to give that pat on the back to yourself and create those positive emotions from scratch. But you can, because emotions are for free. You can just pull them out of thin air. So right now I'm giving myself positive emotion for almost completing this video, because as you can tell, this is still not an easy project for me. And so I'm about to complete this video. I'm really happy right now. I'm going to give myself that pat on the back. I like to do a little gesture, maybe a sound, yes, whatever that is for you. See if you can cultivate that and actually make that part of your routines, that you just finish the behavior and then also add a celebration. When I reach an important goal, like a bigger goal, and I don't just do the right thing to move me from A to B, but actually I move from A to B. And I've actually made that step and I'm right now here. Check. I make sure to have a real big celebration. And that means for me going to the ski resort or going to a one-day spa or going to have a pizza. I usually don't eat cheese, but once in a quarter or so I'll have a really nice Neapolitan pizza to celebrate my quarterly achievements. So this is really dependent on having the clarity and having the exact measurability of your goals. Because you're never going to be happy with everything. Every year you'll reach some goals, you won't reach some others, and then it's hard to say, should you celebrate or is it enough? So you have that clarity, you need to have that clarity on what you need to achieve in order to celebrate. And then just mechanically, almost like a smart contract, just execute like a code, execute celebration. Even if you don't necessarily really feel like it, just do it and you'll feel it. When we talk about social success, the achievements will be oftentimes very slow, because if you're starting to go out and meet people and become more attractive as a man, it won't go smoothly in the beginning. You'll get a lot of rejections. So you want to think, how can I still reward myself for doing the right thing? How can I reward myself for taking that action that's at least in the right direction? And so here, what I recommend is you define an interaction. What counts for you as an interaction, as a social interaction? For me, that used to be going up to a woman that I'm attracted to and just saying hello. That is enough for me to say, I deserve a celebration. And it won't go smoothly, okay? Whatever happens after that, I didn't care about it, because I knew it was usually gonna be tricky, sometimes a very harsh rejection, sometimes kind of boring conversation. But nevertheless, whatever happened, I said, I'm gonna celebrate that. And you might think, oh shit, this is not something to celebrate. I mean, they probably think I'm super weird and I feel weird. But think of a reason to celebrate, and there's a very obvious one, which is that what you just did, just starting that interaction, everyone knows that it's difficult. And they might think you're weird, but you also know that they would never have had the courage to actually do that. And so in fact, you're clearly a few steps ahead of them. And probably they're not even thinking you're weird. They're probably thinking that too. They're probably thinking, wow, that was pretty ballsy. So there's good reason to celebrate and say, I'm doing something difficult that no one else has the courage to do. So after approaching a stranger, I highly recommend to implement a little ritual. And that's also the reason I built the No Game app. You can download it. It's for free on Android, iOS. It's an app to reward yourself after every interaction and to give yourself a little bit of dopamine, just like a Facebook or Instagram like. You can give yourself a like and make that green or red button appear that gives you the signal that yes, you did the right thing. And now the last and final point for creating lasting consistency with your habits and social practices: accountability. All of the above, whatever I shared so far, is usually still not enough. It's usually still not enough to be consistent when you have implemented all of these things, because you're still alone and there will be still enough voices that pull you away, that tell you not to do this properly. Right now I'm telling you to do all of these 4 things. You've understood why they work, but you're probably still not going to do them. I can tell you that. First of all, most of the people who started this video already dropped off. There was a voice that said, oh, this is not important. I should be watching something else. This guy is weird. This guy is too slow. It's almost impossible to actually push through with those 4 things and really do the things that you know you need to be doing consistently when you're alone. You need other people to watch you. You need other people to hold you accountable. So usually that's the last thing that's really missing, and it's not too difficult to add that, because all you need to do is to just tell some other people that you're going to do this. Tell someone else you're going to finish this video, and you'll be more likely to finish this video. Tell someone else that you're going to go out on the weekend and tell them to check on you. Just tell them that, yes, I will be sending you a text message on Sunday after I've gone out Saturday night. You're going to be much more likely to do that, because you care about that person's opinion, sometimes even more about that other person's opinion than about your own opinion of yourself. That's a natural human tendency. We are highly social animals. So find some people that you care about what they think about you. Usually that's all people in your network, but some more and some less. And just tell them what you're going to do. You can do a call with that person and say, let's do a call on the end of the week and actually look at our habit tracker and see whether we've done what we knew we should have done. That's the point of having an app like HabitShare. That's the habit tracker that I use, where you don't just track the habits for yourself. You don't just create awareness for yourself, but then you share that with your friends and they can see whether you've done what you should be doing. And I actually don't think it works extremely well with friends. I've tried it for many years with my friends and it usually falls off because with friends, you don't necessarily want to have this harshness and this judging attitude where you tell the other person that they suck. You want to keep it lighthearted, you want to keep it fun. With friends, it never worked for me. So I had to build a different kind of group, a mastermind group, an accountability group with a few other men that are also on a path to achieve something great. And then have a meeting with them, which felt like more like a board meeting. You're reporting to them. And in fact, every single day I have a short call with one of those guys and I tell them whether I actually did what I should have done yesterday or not. And this video that I'm making right here, obviously I told those people that I will be making this video. And I told those people that I will be making a video like this every single week. And were it not for the discomfort that I feel from telling them tomorrow that I didn't finish the video, I probably wouldn't be doing this video right now. So in conclusion, in theory, right, building confidence is easy. In theory, all that building confidence and building social skills and building any kind of skill really requires is a clear vision of where you want to be. That's supposed to be an I. Then you break it down into milestones, goals that you want to achieve in the short run or in the medium run. Right? These are basically the little steps that we want to take by taking consistent action consistently. And once you reach that point, you want to celebrate. And once you've got that point clearly defined, you know where you are, where you want to be, you need to derive those habits. So those habits need to be derived and scheduled and defined. So I'm going to put like a calendar icon here because you need to plan out what is that behavior? What is that behavior? And how are you going to schedule it? How are you going to make sure that you remind yourself? You need to build some systems there. And then ultimately, you just have to keep doing that. Push through. And that's obviously where it gets difficult. That's where usually people drop off and break the consistency. And now you understand why that is. It's because most people don't have a mechanism in place, don't have systems in place to implement those 5 principles that we talked about earlier. Having a clear motivation, clarity on where you want to be and where you are right now. Having a clear vision, having clear milestones, having clear goals that you know you need to achieve to celebrate. Then having that awareness, that clear view of what you're actually doing. What are the actual actions that you're doing, rather than the one you need to be doing. Comparing that to your ideal movement. And then having accountability. So other people looking at you. And if you're having all of these things in place, there's just no way you cannot achieve your goal, whatever that goal is. But especially when it comes to becoming confident, becoming a better communicator, and becoming able to attract people that you actually want to build a future with. If you understood all of this and you say, okay, it's fine, let's go, and you do it for a while and it still doesn't really work out, I'll be happy to give you that accountability. And there's a link in the description where you can find out how I help people with this process and add even more of that external view on things. Feel free to have a look at this, and also subscribe to this channel if you want to get notified about the next training video coming out. Leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed this video. So long, Samgat Chadvam, Namaskar.